What is an endowment? So an endowment is money set aside to fund a specific charitable purpose. A couple things to remember about an endowment. Endowments are donor directed, which means that they can direct it toward a specific purpose. That money is restricted, which means that it can't be used for any other specific purpose. And the principal itself stays intact. So the funds that are used, the revenue is generated from the interest from the principal itself, which remains intact. There are three types of endowments. There is a restricted endowment, there's a term endowment, and there's a quasi-endowment. So a restricted endowment is what is typically referred to as an endowment. It's restricted toward a particular purpose from the donor itself. Term endowment, which is they're used less often, but it's used and has a specific end date to it, where the principal either is allowed to be used by the institution or it reverts back to the donor. And then the third is a quasi-endowment, which is generally not used as often, but it's generally a board-directed endowment. So it's set up by the board and used as their directed advisor. There are three different components of the endowment. One is the investment policy, the second is the withdrawal policy, and the third is the usage policy. The investment policy specifies how the money will be invested with an investment advisor or other advisor. The second is the withdrawal policy, which specifies how the money can be withdrawn and when it can be withdrawn. As I've said before, the principal remains intact, so we're just talking about the interest that is generated from the investment. The third component of the endowment is the usage policy, which directs how the institution can use the funds that are generated from the specific purpose that the donor has directed. So there are three things to know when considering an endowment. The first is that the foundation can work with you to ensure that your wishes are carried out through the agreement that is negotiated between the foundation and the donor. The second is that donations can be made in cash or non-cash. That means that stock can be transferred from individual accounts to the foundation itself. And that can be done to limit the tax liability of the donor itself. And the third is the foundation should generate annual reports to each donor of an endowed scholarship or an endowment on an annual basis to let you know how things were spent, where they were spent, what is the overall value of the endowment itself, and what is the impact that the endowment has had over the past year. Those typically are annually, but certainly things can be discussed with the foundation how to better suit and tailor those to endvidual needs. One key note about endowments, and especially as they refer to foundations, is that endowments are 501c3 institutions, which means that they're usually separate entities from the organizations that they support. And that means that as 501c3 nonprofit organizations, they don't have any restrictions on how they can manage those funds to ensure the greatest return. Thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you the next time.